Title: Tim TSZYU faces tough challenge against Mexican fighter Carlos Ocampo. Tim TSZYU, the undefeated WBO interim junior middleweight world champion, is set to face Carlos Ocampo, a former IBF world welterweight challenger from Mexico, on Sunday. TSZYU, who is confident of victory, acknowledges the toughness of his opponent and is ready for a possible tough fight. Sue's father, Kostya TSZYU, had faced 5 Mexican fighters during his career, including the legend Julio Cesar Chavez, whom he beat in 2000. However, Carlos Ocampo is a tough fighter not to be underestimated. The fight promises to be a challenging one for TSZYU, as Ocampo is eager to prove his worth and stun the boxing world. These devices can be a lifesaver for finding your keys. Victims say they also enabled their stalkers. Apple's AirTags and similar devices like Tile have been marketed as a cheap and convenient way to track your belongings, from keys to pets. However, there have been growing concerns that the devices can be used for stalking and domestic violence. Survivor Lauren Hughes shared her story, stating that her ex-boyfriend used an AirTag to stalk her after she ended their relationship. In a class action lawsuit, Hughes and another victim, identified as Jane Doe, have accused Apple of not doing enough to prevent the misuse of their products. Domestic violence awareness groups continue to push for greater accountability from companies that create these devices. Justice for young dad tortured by vigilantes, executed and left in a shallow grave, as 7th person is convicted. Albert Thorne, the leader of a vigilante group, has been found guilty of murdering Bradley Lyons in December 2018. Thorne suspected Lyons was a pedophile and led a group of men in torturing the father of 3 and leaving him in a shallow grave. Other members of the group have already been convicted, and 2 were found not guilty of murder in a recent trial. The attack was organized by Nick Stefani, who believed Lyons was sexually abusing children, but no evidence supported this claim. The jury found Thorne guilty of murder, kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, intentionally causing injury, and assault. A bush tucker garden in New South Wales holiday park promotes native ingredients and Aboriginal culture. A new bush tucker garden at a coastal holiday park in Forster, New South Wales, is promoting the use of native ingredients and educating visitors about the foods of Worimi country. The garden, a collaboration between Aboriginal education provider Deadly Ed and Reflections Holiday Parks, features sour plums, finger limes, pigface, Davidson's plum and other native plants with multiple uses. Deadly Ed's co-founder, Josh Brown, said the garden aimed to connect people with culture and country while improving physical and mental health, healthy eating and sustainability. The garden can also inspire people to experience new flavors in their cooking. How something amazing came from grass seedlings destined for the dumpster. A last-minute rescue of seedlings from a dumpster has led to the development of a disease-resistant commercial grass variety, set to be exported around the world. Retired agricultural research scientist Bill Fulkerson, along with the dairy industry group, developed a kikuyu grass that is resistant to kikuyu yellow and black spot on the leaf, both of which cattle refuse to eat. The Fulkerson variety has plant breeder rights purchased by commercial seed producer Nick Akamp, with real export opportunities to Europe. A small amount of money has led to something amazing for farmers along the east coast of Australia. Fear of online scams sees revival of community markets among older Australians. Older Australians like Fiona Muller are turning to the safety of local markets to avoid huge financial losses to online scammers and help ease cost of living pressures. Telephone scams accounted for the biggest financial losses to Australians in 2022, according to the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission (ACCC). Aged in her 60s, Ms. Muller is among the generation that lost the most money to scams last year at $120.7 million, an increase of 47.4% on the previous year. As the cost of living increases, many people her age have been ditching online marketplaces, and are instead turning to their local markets to make an extra buck. Live cattle export trade from South America red hot. What could this mean for Australia? Australian live export shipping firm Wellard now has around two-thirds of its fleet running out of South America, where the live export trade is red hot. Wellard's General Manager of Business Development, Tim O'Donnell, said the Ocean Swagman and Ocean Drover had been sent to Brazil and were busy shipping cattle mostly to Turkey. Exporters predict a trial shipment of Brazilian cattle to Indonesia, but the focus is on this tender with Turkey, followed closely by Iraq, Egypt, and emerging markets of Morocco and Algeria. The biggest advantage for Australia is the distance to market, but the cost of compliance is increasingly shifting the trade to South America. Title: Medicinal cannabis companies set to enter Australia's new psychedelics market. Medicinal cannabis companies are eyeing Australia's new emerging psychedelics market after the Therapeutic Goods Administration (TGA) approved the prescribing of MDMA and psilocybin for severe mental health conditions. The decision will take effect from July 1, but patients will only be able to access the medicines in a highly controlled environment, combined with psychotherapy. Despite the regulatory changes, only a small number of patients are expected to access the treatments initially. However, companies like Vitura Health, which operates an online medicinal cannabis platform, are making an early pivot into the psychedelics market and expecting to import these medicines into Australia. High-speed zip line proposed for Kunanyi, Mount Wellington, but critics appalled. A new thrilling tourism experience is being proposed for Kunanyi, Mount Wellington in Hobart. A tourism entrepreneur is planning to build what he says would be the longest, fastest and highest zip line in the Asia-Pacific, reaching speeds of up to 100 km per hour. The zip line would be built around halfway up the mountain near the springs, and would take about 90 seconds to cover the 1,300-meter route to Strickland Falls. While the entrepreneur believes it would attract up to 30,000 people each year, critics including the Aboriginal Land Council of Tasmania and local residents have voiced concerns. The project needs the support of Hobart City Council and the Wellington Park Management Trust to proceed. Title: ****, very rarely seen marsupial with silky golden fur spotted near Uluru. A rare spotting of a marsupial mole has taken place near Uluru in Central Australia. Alice Springs shoemaker James Young and his partner were travelling for work to the remote community of Mutijulu, when they saw the small creature attempting to cross the road. Marsupial moles are completely blind and spend most of their lives underground, with sightings occurring only 5 to 10 times per decade. Rachel Poltridge, a threatened species ecologist with the Indigenous Desert Alliance, explains that the marsupial mole has a unique way of getting about, swimming through the sand. The creature has silky golden fur and spade-like claws for burrowing. #****. Sonia Leading left behind the burden of being a police widow and forged her own path as a mum and a detective. Sonia Leading opens up about the struggle to redefine herself after the murder of her husband, Senior Constable Damien Leading, who was shot responding to a botched robbery on the Gold Coast in 2011. Sonia, who once struggled with drinking and unimaginable grief, has finally found her way back to herself and is now a detective with the Child Protection Unit. She shares how powerful it can be to speak your truth and hopes her story will inspire others to seek help and to speak up. On Melbourne's northern fringe, residents say it's the people or the quarry. Residents in Wallan, Melbourne, have expressed their opposition to a proposed quarry that is expected to bring unwanted sound, dust, and traffic congestion to the area. The quarry sits within the Beveridge Northwest Precinct, a 1.2-hectare area set to host about 15,000 new homes by 2050. The decision about the proposal now rests with the Planning Minister, Sonia Kilkenny. The council's main objection is the way the quarry would impact the community, affecting tens of thousands of future residents and current ones. A concerted campaign against the quarry has been launched by the locals. Title: Tasmania faces council merger proposals again after 30 years. Description: Tasmania is once again facing council mergers after 30 years since the last major reform. In 1993, the number of councils was reduced from 46 to 29, and now there are proposals to further reduce the number. The local government board is recommending mandated consolidation, claiming that 29 councils are too many. However, some of the state's smallest councils have already expressed their opposition to forced amalgamations, saying that they don't want to lose their sense of community. This reform comes at a time when Tasmania is shaking off its backwater status and has become a tourism hotspot and a preferred location for tree and sea changes. Publication date: Friday, 16 June 2023. 22 hours 23 minutes and 42 seconds plus 0000 link. Meatloaf's "I'd do anything for love but I won't do that", Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You", and Lover, You Don't Treat Me No Good by Sonia Dada were the top songs of 1993, the year when Tasmania underwent one of the biggest changes in local government history. Now, 30 years later, Tasmania is faced with the same big reform again. The local government board is recommending mandated consolidation, saying that 29 councils are too many. However, some of the state's smallest councils have already voiced their opposition to forced mergers, preferring to keep their sense of community. This proposed reform comes at a time when Tasmania is quickly changing and evolving. Title: Why Sexual Harassment Victims Stay Silent, a Lesson from Canberra. Like many Australian women, after the last few weeks of the appalling politicising of Brittany Higgins' sexual assault allegations, I've spent a lot of time wondering why any woman would ever come forward again with a story of unwanted sexualised behaviour in the halls of Parliament House, writes Virginia Trioli. Despite wanting little more than an acknowledgement, apology, and promise to never let it happen again, workplace harassment victims are often subjected to factional battles, personal information leaks, and media victim blaming. The recent allegations against Senator David Van and Senator Lydia Thorpe have highlighted the complexities of the issue and the need for cultural change. Title: New South Wales primary-aged schoolboys make history in netball. For the first time in New South Wales history, a primary-aged schoolboys netball squad has been selected. After almost 100 boys trialled for the squad, 12-year-old Maxwell Kimball from Albury was selected as one of 10 players. Netball has traditionally been played by females, but this move signifies a shift towards opening up the sport to boys and breaking down gender stereotypes. The New South Wales boys squad will compete at the School Sport Australia Exchange competition in Western Australia in September. Netball has been gaining popularity among men, and this is a great starting point for the sport to be more inclusive. How Italian prisoners of war and Australian families kept strong bonds of friendship after World War II. New research has shed light on the previously forgotten history of Southeast South Australia's prisoner of war (POW) camps. During World War II, Australia held internees of German and Italian heritage, as well as POWs captured in northern Africa, in regional camps around the country. The Southeast Wood camps were managed by the South Australian Department of Woods and Forests, which was facing labour shortages due to a workforce at war. Some of the Italian prisoners were deemed trustworthy enough to work on local farms, where they built strong bonds with the families they worked for, leading to lasting friendships. Title: The 5 Factors That Will End Australia's Interest Rate Pain. Australia's Reserve Bank will eventually stop lifting interest rates and begin easing its monetary policy. In order to get there, a number of economic elements need to move in the right direction. There is only one number that can seal the deal for cheaper borrowing costs in a truly concrete way. The basis of monetary policy is to use the lever of interest rates to increase or decrease aggregate demand in the economy. The latest measure of economic growth showed that consumer spending has taken quite a hit, but overall, it has not reversed due to an incredibly tight labour market. The Reserve Bank is seeking to push just enough Australians to this place to reduce demand in the economy to the point where firms discount the prices of their goods and services. Injured domestic violence victim ignored by New South Wales Police as report highlights litany of failures. A new report has highlighted the failures of New South Wales Police in protecting victims of domestic violence, urging for specialist training for officers. The Law Enforcement Conduct Commission (LECC) revealed systemic issues including failures to record incidents, take witness statements and provide victim support. One case investigated involved a victim who reported an assault and provided evidence of serious injuries, but the police officer recorded the incident as domestic violence, no offense, and did not apply for an apprehended domestic violence order (ADVO) against the alleged perpetrator. Domestic violence advocates are calling for more specialized training for police officers. Title: New South Wales Ambulance apologises for delaying sick toddler's transfer by 12 hours. New South Wales Ambulance has issued an apology to a 1-year-old child and family after paramedics refused to transfer the toddler to a bigger hospital for treatment due to ongoing industrial action. The child was taken to Moruya Hospital on the New South Wales far south coast after a doctor's referral, but paramedics were unable to transfer the sick toddler to the South East Regional Hospital in Bega due to the ongoing low-level industrial action. After a 12-hour wait, the toddler was eventually transferred to the paediatric unit. New South Wales Ambulance has claimed that the transfer occurred safely, but apologised to the patient and their family for the distress caused by the delay. Title: Telstra to open call centre on remote island with limited internet access. Telstra, Australia's leading telecom company, is all set to launch a new call centre on Palm Island, a remote Indigenous community in North Queensland. The project is expected to create 20 new jobs on the island and provide economic and social benefits to the community. However, while the move is welcome news for the residents, internet connectivity remains a concern, with half the island having no mobile phone or internet coverage. Nonetheless, Mayor Mislam Sam is optimistic about the collaboration with Telstra and the progress towards better services in the future. Source: Police dig up abandoned mine shaft in search for answers to possible double homicide in WA outback. WA police and locals continue their search for answers surrounding the death of missing mother of 3, Jenny Kellett, who disappeared on a camping trip in 2015. Jenny's husband was found murdered and their friend who was teaching them both how to prospect for gold also disappeared. Police recently uncovered a garment buried at the base of an abandoned mine shaft, leading them to launch a major operation to excavate the site. Meanwhile, local prospectors, Richard Whittington and Jed Tondit, have been conducting their own search for Jenny's body in the area. Jenny's family and the community hope a resolution is found soon. Title: John Faint wins ABC Canberra Community Spirit All-Star Award for Vines Youth Program. John Faint, a volunteer of the St Vincent de Paul Society for 16 years, has won the 2023 ABC Canberra Community Spirit All-Star Award for his program called Vines Youth Program. The program brings the Scouts and Vinnies together to engage 13 to 15-year-olds living with challenging life circumstances. It offers weekend activities every 2 months and camps twice a year. John believes the program will challenge the children with adventurous activities and engage them, expose them to new role models, and give them some fun. The ABC Canberra Community Spirit Awards recognise outstanding contributions to the community. Police charge Nottingham attack suspect with 3 counts of murder. Valdo Calacane, a 31-year-old man of no fixed address, has been charged with 3 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder following a stabbing and van attack in Nottingham, England. 2 university students, Barnaby Philip John Webber and Grace Sashi O'Malley Kumar, were found dead near the city centre while Ian Robert Coates, a school caretaker, was found a few blocks away. Police believe Calacane attacked the students before turning on Coates to steal his van. Calacane is due to appear in court over the weekend. Thousands of people joined the families of the victims at a vigil at Nottingham Old Market Square. Minneapolis police show pattern of excessive force and racial discrimination, investigation finds. A 2-year investigation by the U.S. Justice Department has found that police officers in Minneapolis regularly use excessive force and discriminate against Black and Native American people. The investigation was launched following the killing of George Floyd by a white police officer in 2020. The city has agreed to negotiate a consent decree with the Justice Department to reform the police department. The report includes allegations that police use dangerous techniques and weapons against people who committed minor offenses, and that they patrol neighborhoods differently based on racial composition. The findings align with what communities of color have been saying for generations. Pittsburgh synagogue attacker found guilty on all charges. Robert Bowers has been found guilty of federal hate crimes for killing 11 worshippers at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life synagogue in 2018, the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. The jury found him guilty on all 63 counts, including 11 counts of obstruction of free exercise of religious beliefs resulting in death. Bowers now faces the penalty phase of his trial at the U.S. District Court in Pittsburgh, where prosecutors will try to show that aggravating factors were involved in the attack, making a case for the death penalty. Defense lawyers have argued that a death sentence would violate the Constitution, as Bowers suffers from schizophrenia. Title: Vietnam War whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg dies at 92. Daniel Ellsberg, the whistleblower who leaked the classified Pentagon Papers, has passed away at the age of 92. The papers exposed U.S. government deception about the Vietnam War and played a significant role in expediting its end. Ellsberg had announced in February that he was terminally ill with pancreatic cancer. He spent months copying the documents on an office Xerox machine, using his then young children as helpers. The publication of the papers led to a landmark Supreme Court decision on freedom of the press. Ellsberg was a dedicated Cold Warrior and hawk on Vietnam before he realized the U.S. was in a war it could not win. Greg Norman and wife sued for negligence after allegations pool party led to underage drinking and sexual assault. Australian golf star Greg Norman and his wife Kirsten Norman are facing a lawsuit for negligence that allegedly led to an underage girl being intoxicated and sexually assaulted while at their home in Florida. The Normans are accused of providing alcohol to minors and failing to prevent abusive conduct at a party in 2021. Greg Norman's lawyer denies the allegations, stating that the matter had been fully investigated and closed. The lawsuit was filed in March and came to light on Friday. The plaintiff claims she was sexually assaulted by 2 minors after becoming visibly inebriated. The hospital said baby Albie's death was due to a rare obstetric emergency. His parents want to know how it happened. Rebecca and Tim Spreadborough's excitement turned to devastation after their son's delivery at Emerald Hospital tragically ended. An internal review cited a rare obstetric emergency as the cause of Albie's death, which the parents dispute, calling for an independent review, statewide policies for obstructed labors, and better support for grieving parents. They also believe rural and regional medical staff should receive regular emergency training and simulations. The hospital's CEO expressed condolences and promised to address the family's concerns. The review recommended regular emergency skill drills and clinical audits, and assessment of compliance against the CTG interpretation policy. U.S. woman pleads guilty over Bali suitcase murder. Heather Mack, a U.S. woman accused of helping to kill her mother and stuffing her body in a suitcase during a luxury Bali vacation, has changed her plea to guilty in a Chicago federal court, 9 years after the murder. Mack, who was convicted in Indonesia in 2015, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to kill a U.S. citizen. Mack's plea deal calls for a sentence of no more than 28 years. Mr. Schaefer, her then boyfriend convicted of the murder, remains in Indonesia serving an 18-year sentence. Mack's sentencing is set for December 18, 2023. Grave concerns for woman who called 000 from phone box, telling police she had given birth. South Australia police are urgently seeking the whereabouts of a distressed woman who called 000 from a public phone box in Adelaide's northeast, informing the operator that she had just given birth. The woman disconnected the phone before she could be identified, prompting grave concerns from authorities who believe she requires medical assistance. Despite investigating the area with assistance from state emergency service volunteers, police have found no evidence of the woman or her baby. The public is urged to come forward with any information, including dash cam or CCTV footage in the vicinity of the phone box. Link